Welcome back everyone, and this is a knobthorn tree, and I'm going to let VM take you on a little adventure through the branches, and let me know if you see anything out of place along the way. Trees are often home to birds, but they're also home to other animals. And if you look closely, maybe you'll notice something's not quite right. I hope you've all seen it. If you haven't, there's a snake on the right hand side of that main branch cutting through the center of the screen, and it's looking directly at us. It's got very big eyes, which you can clearly see. Oh, look at it focusing on us. This is awesome. It'll just be making sure that we're no threat to it, and I'm worried it may slither off. So you came to us just in time, and hopefully we'll be able to give you a few more shots of it as it slithers through this tree. It's called a Boomslang, which means tree snake in Afrikaans, and it's named for this reason because it lives mainly in trees, exactly where we're seeing one now. So an arboreal snake with very, very large eyes. Its eyes are one of its most characteristic features. We can also tell that this is a male because of its bright green coloration. The females will be a duller olive color, and they hunt predominantly on birds as well as reptiles like chameleons, and it's searching for something to eat. Its forked tongue keeps poking out, and that's how they find prey. Together with their eyes, they also use their sense of smell, and their tongue is essentially a protrudable nostril. They poke out their tongue picks up different flavors on the wind, and as it brings its forked tongue back into its mouth, each fork of its tongue goes into its own individual receptor. Now that receptor processes where the smell is coming from more strongly, either the left fork or the right fork, and that helps them to get them closer to their prey. Now, you'll never believe it, but we stopped at the bottom of this tree to talk about a leopard that would have finished a kill here, and I'm going to get to that later. There's some bones that we saw at the bottom of this tree, and we were going to tell you about how a leopard would have fed here many months ago. But that can wait, because we can talk about something that's happening right this very second. A boomslang hunting. Now you may be wondering, is the snake dangerous to us as humans? It certainly can be. It's got a very nasty venom. It's hemotoxic, which means it attacks your blood, and you will bleed profusely, essentially. Your ability to coagulate and stop bleeding is affected negatively, and you literally bleed to death. Thankfully, though, they are not very aggressive snakes. Would you like me to move, VM?
Lost it currently. What do you suggest?
Okay, no, I've got it. There it is. Yeah, well done. Well done, VM. It isn't easy to see, folks, but it really is cool to be seeing. I know Mark managed to find one of these with Jason a couple of months back, feeding on a chameleon. And Brian and I were out that morning, and we said that's what we wanted to see, and funnily enough, Mark and Jason found that exact thing, so that was rare. But since then, we haven't seen another boomslang. So as I was saying, in terms of their danger to us as humans, they're not aggressive snakes, so that makes a huge impact on the likelihood of one biting you. Even if you catch these animals or aggravate them, their likelihood of striking at you is smaller than of other snakes in the area, like a black mamba, for example, which is notoriously aggressive. The other important thing about this snake is that it's got back fangs, which means its fangs are positioned far back in its mouth, and in order to envenomate its prey, it often has to chew. So it latches on and then chews, almost massaging its jaws into the prey. Therefore, if it just struck at us and bit us once, it could well deliver what is called a dry bite, which is a bite that punctures your skin, but no venom is actually envenomated. This is incredible, and VM's doing a great job on camera. There's obviously many obstructions. He's got the camera tilted up just about as high as it can go, and he is certainly allowing us insights into this Boomslang's afternoon. We're so fortunate that it's continuing with its afternoon hunts with very little or no care of our presence. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's not hunting for prey. Maybe he's hunting for a lady. That certainly is possible. And it looks like he's coming back down towards us, so I'm not going to move a muscle. And hopefully we'll get spoiled with a few more great views of him. Here he comes. Now, another snake that some people may confuse with the male boomslang because of its emerald green coloration is a green mamba. And the easy way to know that this is certainly not a green mamba here is simply distribution. Green mambas are coastal snakes, and we aren't close enough to the coast to find them here. Oh, look at this view. Absolutely awesome.
That squirrel has to wait.
You may have heard VM just saying the squirrel has to wait. There's a squirrel that's been alarm calling, and as VM spotted the snake, I had heard the squirrel alarms calling, and I wanted to dart off in that direction to find out what exactly the squirrel had seen, but VM just reminded me that the squirrel can wait, because this snake action is just too good. He certainly is searching every little twig and branch on this tree. Wouldn't it be incredible if he came across a female? There certainly is a chance that's happening, or it could be that he's making the most of this hot weather. On a hot afternoon, it makes life for a cold-blooded animal much easier. And you'll find snakes are far faster and agile in hot weather than they are when it's cold. Where's he going to pop out next? This is going to be interesting.
Hey guys.
Oh, awesome. He's coming closer to us. Now, Julia and Lisa on Twitter have asked how big is this snake, and it's probably around 4 feet long. They get to about 6 feet in length. And bear with me, I am tempted to move, but I'm scared that we'll make the snake nervous, and that's the last thing we want. It's so beautiful watching it go about its business undisturbed by our presence. So I'm going to avoid the urge to move the vehicle in the hope that it'll continue slithering around this tree and give us a few more great views of itself. Oh, there he is. And on cue, he's come around to the side of the tree. It's phenomenal how easily they maneuver their incredibly long body through this tangle of branches and thorns without getting snagged. Speaking of snakes getting snagged, it brings back memories of a young python that we saw that had been stuck in a thorn tree because it had been knocked out by weaver birds, bombarded as it was trying to steal eggs or chicks from their nest, and its tail got hooked in a hooked thorn and it dangled there until the weaver birds, one by one, pecked it to death. It was a very sad sighting, but the harsh reality of a hunter becoming the hunted. This old green mamba, though, seems like a veteran and is having no trouble slithering around here. Well, that's great to hear. Peggy in Montana, she's also reminiscing about a previous Wild Earth sighting, and that was of a very similar looking snake, she says, and it could well have been the same snake, the Boomslang, as they are notorious for doing exactly what Peggy saw, and she saw one of these snakes investigating weaver birds' nests. No different to the nests, those little cup-shaped nests we saw earlier at Buffalo's Hook Dam. I really think that this snake may have seen a Bataleur eagle flying past, and that's why it stopped and very alert. Snakes will be predated on by eagles, and a Bataleur flew past, and now you can see its body language has immediately stopped. And it's certainly a lot harder to see when it's keeping dead still than when it's moving. So this is obviously the tactic it was playing there. Maybe not, but the timing seemed uncanny that as soon as that bird flew past, it stopped in its tracks. Prey of this snake is chameleons, other small lizards, and birds. Ants are a bit too small and don't fit the menu of the boomslang or tree snake. Now, just to let you know about the Bataleur eagle that flew past, it did fly out of the area excuse me, where I heard the squirrel alarm calling. So either the squirrel was alarm calling at the Bataleur, or the squirrel was alarm calling at the Bataleur and the leopard that's made a kill, and that's why the Bataleur may have been hanging around there. So a huge speculation, but these are the things we have to think about when we do see signs and different animals and try and piece the puzzle together. I can't see the Bataleur anymore, so maybe the snake is taking extra precaution, or maybe it wasn't even the bird that had stopped its afternoon's activity here. I don't know how on earth VM found it, but well done again. It was a bit of organized chaos when VM told me that he had found a snake, because I was looking up into the tree going, where? And he was just saying, look at the monitor. But I wanted to know where it was in the tree, and by just looking in the monitor, you don't have a good idea of where exactly it was hiding in the tree. So that was a little bit funny. Kathleen from Glenfield. Good afternoon, and Kathleen would like to know if this snake would possibly prey on hornbills, which do nest in trees like this, in the cavities of knobthorn trees. And I think certainly, yes, a baby hornbill would be manageable sized prey for a boomslang. What you need to remember with snakes is that even though they may have an apparently small mouth, their ability to unhinge their jawbones, or almost double joint their jawbones, aids them in opening their mouth very, very wide, so they can swallow prey 4 or 5 times their own diameter with relative ease. So now obviously probably uncomfortable for a week or so afterwards digesting this massive lump, but I think a hornbill would certainly be a manageable prey item for this snake. Even the large flap-necked chameleons that we get in this area will easily be consumed by a boomslang. It's probably about as thick as an average human's forefinger, so not abnormally thick, but that's probably not the best description, because as you all know, you get some people with massive hands and others with small hands, but probably about a centimeter and a half, 2 centimeters at the most in diameter, so not a very thick snake. Terry in upstate New York, good afternoon, and you have stumped me with your question, and thank you for that. Terry would like to know, where would these boomslang lay their eggs? Now, I don't know the exact answer to that, but I'm fairly certain that, being arboreal snakes living in trees, I'm guessing that they would nest within cavities in trees or small cracks in the bark, and that's where they would lay their eggs. I could certainly be wrong, but that's my calculated guess. If anybody knows more on that matter, where these boomslang lay their eggs, please share that info with us, because I'm not entirely sure that I can answer Terry's question confidently, so I want to ask for your help here. And again, to all of you who have sent questions through, thank you very, very much. And if you're a newcomer to the show, it's really easy to do. You just hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@WildEarthTV. And send your questions through now. It's a live show, so in a couple of minutes I could answer it. Okay, we're in luck. We've got a bit more action while this snake plays like a statue. And I'm hoping they're going to continue. There are a few crested francolin that have come down onto the road, and they're currently feeding on some grass seeds, but earlier the one started to take a bit of a dust bath, and it's typically this time in the afternoon where you will find francolin and other birds dust bathing. Go on then. Oh, you could see a little bit of the dust coming out of its feathers from its previous bath, and I'm hoping it's going to do it again. Usually they get really involved and it's quite a process. But they've obviously stumbled upon a tasty patch of grass seeds there, because they are making the most of this little snacking opportunity. Really pretty birds. Not not much different to a chicken really. They use their feet a lot to... Oh, there we go, here we go. That's what we're looking for. It's a bizarre concept, bathing yourself in dust, but it works for them. And it's great to look at. Ready for bed. Just like that. Well, the snake hasn't moved the muscle, so I'm glad the birds came in to mix things up a bit. Now, I am just going to begin to tell you the story in a bit more depth as to why we stopped at this tree, and it's because this tree could tell a story before we found the snake. We noticed as we were driving past a small piece of bone lying in the base of the tree. Now I'm not going to jump out and grab onto it to show you, but you can see clearly there, and that's part of the skull of what looks to me like an impala, and you can see the two protrusions coming towards us would have been pieces of the inner bone that creates the horn. It's important to understand that antelope have got a keratin sheath, which is the brown shell of the horn, and the horn is not hollow, it's filled with bone inside, so that's the bony remains that would have attached onto the skull, and the brain would have been situated in the bowl. It's basically upside down at the moment. And we found it interesting because this tree is not the ideal tree for a leopard to have a kill in, but you may have found that the leopard made the kill close to this tree. Hyena responded within seconds, and then it was forced to carry its kill up this fairly scraggly tree. I mean, it's better than no tree, that's for certain, but not a typical leopard tree. And wouldn't that have been interesting to see unfold? A leopard tired from making a kill. It would have had to drag the animal here, and if it was an impala, which it looks like to me, it could outweigh or weigh the same as a leopard, depending if the leopard was male or female, and it would have had to drag that carcass up this tree in order to get it away from the hyena. Once it's up in the tree, there's not much to worry about unless you drop it, or unless of course you bump into a boomslang up there. That'll also complicate things. Speaking of which, it looks like the boomslang has disappeared.
That's behind that branch.
Okay. So I'm glad we did stop here initially to tell you that story. This knobthorn tree is now firmly stamped itself into my memory. Christina in Pennsylvania and Brian in Toronto have just raised a very good point, and they would like to know, do snakes, or birds that hunt snakes rather, do they have an immunity to snake venom? And no, not that I'm aware of, it's just that they designed and know how to effectively hunt and kill their prey. They do have hard, scaly legs, and their feathers will be difficult for certain snakes to penetrate into. So, no, as far as I'm aware, a highly venomous snake, if it was to bite a bird of prey, it would probably die. creep closer to this bateleur without chasing it off, but getting close enough to give you a good view. But we are going to have to get a little bit closer to see if there's no meat lying around and a leopard nearby, because that is a reality. Unless, however, these bateleur roost here, I have seen them very close by to the same spot. Now we're just going to have a quick glimpse at this bateleur. It is going to be a beautiful, beautiful sight. He's just up there in the tree. And you'll notice that I'm saying he. That's a little bit of homework for any of you who may not know the answer to whether this is a male or a female. You can tell while they're sitting down. And such a beautiful bird like this is a good one to start practicing on if you aren't a birder by nature. I tend to suggest starting with the stars of the bird show, and this is certainly one of them. Anyway, it's interesting behavior because I have seen two bateleurs perched in this very similar area just a few days ago, and maybe they've got a nest nearby, or maybe this is just a place where they like to hang out, because I did search the area thoroughly when I was here 2 days ago or 3 days ago. And there didn't appear to be any meat nearby, and I doubt there would still be 3 days later. Anyway, from VM, the bateleur, and myself, Scott, we're going to say goodbye to you. And not forever though, we'll hopefully see you later. But it sounds like Mark is in a position with some beautiful, beautiful animals that you all like. So
well, we've been back here with these lions, lovely golden light. I call it lion light, this late afternoon. Well, it's evening really, good evening. This beautiful sunset light. We've got the sun setting in the west, just a little bit to the north of west. As far as the change is concerned from earlier, 3 of the cats have come out of the shade. There are 2 that came out while we were away, and just while we've been sitting here, one lion has got was going to head onto the road itself, but she then lay down on this old track further away from us. And I see a lot of twitching. There's been a lot of rolling around, and it is that time of day when perhaps some of them will start waking up, yawning, and no doubt going off to do their toileting. My guess is that they might head for water. They've got a choice of heading back towards Treehouse Dam or going towards Gari Dam. I would hazard a guess and say maybe they'd go towards Gari Dam and then find something, see if there's anything out on the open area. The animals are not going to be on the open during the heat of the day, especially a very hot day like today. They're more likely to be amongst the trees where there is shade and where it's a lot cooler down in the drainage lines. But as soon as the sun goes down and once sunset falls, you'll find that these animals, the zebra and the wildebeest and the impala, nyala to some degree, and sometimes the kudu, a lot of these animals like to head for the open areas. And behind us, not too far away, is a very big open area we call Quarantine. It's the area that gave its name to the young male leopard. It belongs to Karula, brother of Djuma. And it's possible that they might head that way to see what they would. And there's been a lot of in the likes of buffalo, kudu.
Yeah, we would have gone black screen there because I dipped to insufficient voltage.
We seem to have a slight voltage issue on, so a little blackout that you had, that was just our voltage dipping low. what was I saying? Well, there seems to be a lot of general game around the waterhole, so it's possible that they might even go into hunt mode. They're not very thin. I'm looking at one of the lionesses looking still quite round from probably one of their last kills, but it'll only be really when they stand up after they've been to the toilet that we'll be able to see how full their bellies really are.
I don't know.
Let's just do it. See.
Welcome back, everyone, and we apologize profusely for the quick cut away from Mark, but these technical issues do happen out here, and VM and I were just getting ready to show you a beautiful, beautiful sunset. We were thankfully nearby on quite a high point of Djuma, and it looks out over this vast playground of ours, which VM is going to show you now. It's a massive, massive wilderness that we're a part of, and on evenings like this, on a lookout point like this, you really feel blessed to be here. And we probably don't show you enough of the scenery as we should, and we're aware of that and trying to incorporate more scenic shots for you all to get an idea of exactly what it's like when you look out over the rolling hills here. It's predominantly flat, and it's fairly thick woodland with not too many open clearings. Dead trees are a common sight and actually make up for some beautiful scenery. Our evenings are becoming longer and longer. The sun is setting earlier every night. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the times we're heading out in the afternoon, the broadcast times, ensure that we're out during good daylight time, and we're also getting some time after dark with the spotlights, which is also exciting because it opens up avenues to see some of the smaller, less known nocturnal critters that scurry about. Now, typically what would happen on a safari is we'd have all the guests out of the vehicle now, having a sundowner and some snacks, stretching the legs, so feel free to do the same. Get up, stretch the legs, get yourself a drink, and enjoy this beautiful view. Janet in Boston, good evening. And Janet would like to know if any bats are going to start flying around soon. And they certainly will. In the Sabi Sands, I've mainly only seen insect-eating bats, but I do know nearby in Skakuza, a town in the Kruger National Park, there's a huge colony of epauletted fruit bats, so you do also get fruit bats in this general area. But I've only seen the smaller insect-eating termites in and around the Sabi Sands. There were quite a few of them nesting in our roofs when we were staying at a camp in the Manyaleti, which some people, I guess, would have thought was a blessing in disguise. Free guano for your vegetable garden. Sadly, we didn't have a vegetable garden, so the bat poop was of no use to us. But yes, there are bats here, and they form a critical part of any ecosystem. They consume huge amounts of small insects, and without them, us as humans would have massive insect control problems. And that is why, if there are ever bats nesting in your roof or making life a little bit difficult for you, there are solutions to help them move into bat-friendly accommodation, as opposed to completely destroying them or wiping them out, because it is important to remember that they gobble up the insects and bugs that can often frustrate us as humans. Well, just to keep you updated, Mark's vehicle is still not transmitting a signal at the moment, so you're stuck with me for now, but don't worry, I'm going to head across to those lions in case Mark's technical issue is unresolvable. But we are just going to wait for the sun to dip below the horizon. Wow, what a way to end a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. And to be honest, it's a relief that that sun's gone down. It was really hot when we headed out this afternoon to start off with. And what a beautiful sight we've just shared together. Now, without further ado, we've got some distance to travel, because I would like to make sure we get to see the Nkuhuma Pride, and I'm concerned that Mark's vehicle may not be fixed in time. So, we're not going to rush there too hectically. It'll probably take 15. Stations with the Boomers for start. Hey Mark, sorry about your technical problems there. I'm going to come across in case you don't manage to fix things. Is there space for me? Okay, copy, thanks. So I'll get a hold of you when I'm a bit closer and take it from there.
Okay, when you get closer, I'll get to actually, but it's so far it's not helpful. Try when I look at it again.
Okay, copy, thanks. Okay, good stuff. So, Mark is there. He would have told me to rush if there was a need to rush, and there isn't. So, we're just going to carry on casually. We may bump into something along the way. I wouldn't be disappointed if we did. Of you did some research on where boomslangs will lay their eggs. Almost too many people to name, really, so you know who you are, and thank you very, very much for sending through the information. What I can now share with everyone is that we now, thanks to the help of some of the viewers researching this for us, understand that boomslangs will, yes, nest in cavities in trees, being arboreal snakes. It kind of makes sense. But they will also nest within leaf litter, and often in damp places. That seems to be quite a prominent term used. It was damp nesting, damp leaves, damp cavities in trees. So it's obviously quite important that they do find a moist environment to lay their eggs. But be it on the ground, in a burrow, or in the cavity of a tree, those are all potential places for them to hide their eggs. And apparently they lay between 10 and 25 eggs in each clutch. So thank you very much for that info. And that's the beautiful thing about nature and being out here and sharing with one another, is that there is just so much to know out here. And if we all work together and share thoughts and ideas and research that has been done on animals, we are going to have a great time and learn a lot and get to know this playground even better. The better the playground, the more fun we can have in it, that's for certain.
With Sean.
just to let everyone know what I'm doing at the moment, I'm not driving aimlessly down a dirt road in the middle of the African wilderness. I am on my way specifically to a pride of 8 lions. They called the Nkahuma Pride of Lion, and we managed to see them this morning. Mark's seen them this afternoon briefly, but I think now, in the next half an hour or so, we're going to be treated to some great visuals of them. I'm hoping they're going to be waking up, and I'm hoping they're going to be hungry. Because hungry lions make for exciting lions, and I could think of no better way to finish off the drive with all of you, with these lions on the move. We're probably about 4 or 5 minutes away now, so don't go anywhere. And if you've just joined, a huge welcome. This is a live show, so what you see is happening this very second. And if you'd like to ask us questions to confirm that this is happening, please do. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email to questions at WildEarthTV, and we will answer, or at least try our best to answer your questions. It's quite funny, we were chatting around the fire last night, and I believe one of our new viewers didn't believe that the show was live, and she had an argument on Twitter with some of our long-term viewers, saying that there's no chance that this could be a live show. And I think it was Kathleen, and not to pick on you, Kathleen, I would have probably been the same as you. Just to let you know, it is live, and it does happen, and send us through some questions to confirm that. And to all of our regular viewers who stood up for us and let whoever it was know that it was actually a live show, thank you for doing that. John, in Connecticut, it's a huge, huge pleasure. I'm glad you enjoyed the sunset, and well done to VM, who was the master behind bringing you those beautiful images. And aren't we lucky to be sharing such beautiful moments with people all around the world? And we'll certainly try and do a few more sunsets for you, John. In North Carolina, I'm very impressed with your bird knowledge, and I'm very glad you've asked this question. There's a bird of prey called a bat hawk, and as its name suggests, it does hawk and hunt bats. Not specifically and entirely, but it does make up the majority of their diet. And interestingly enough, they're very rare birds, but I have seen one in the Sabi Sands. The other ones I've seen are close to where I live in Durban, and there's a huge belt of natural forest where some bat hawks live. I remember being a kid sitting on my friend's roof watching the bat hawks hunt bats every evening at about this stage of the evening. Good news for the bats, I guess, because they don't have to worry about the bat hawks, but for the birders, we would certainly love to share a sighting of a bat hawk with you. And it's possible. That's the great thing. We just have to spend more and more time out here every single day, and that's how you increase your chances of seeing the rare and exciting things. There's no way to short circuit that. Approaching the sighting, and the good news is Mark's here, so we'll be able to chat with him and find out what happened to his vehicle. showing bad luck on his first drive back, but it's nobody's fault, and these technical issues do happen from time to time. Hello, Mark. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
Good. So
they're still flat. One or two of them have moved and rolled over, but I think your timing's pretty good. We haven't really had much luck with them.
Okay.
But fortunately, or rather, unfortunately, we can't fire up at the moment. So fortunately, they haven't moved, so we haven't missed anything.
And it's nothing too serious, or?
I don't know. This fuse box is so hot we can't even touch it.
Okay.
So
maybe that was just the weather today.
I think so. We have had this in the past, and it's been so hot.
Yeah. Okay.
Equipment does tend to sort of go on strike, go slow.
Well, I'm sorry that's happened to you on your first afternoon back. What are the chances?
Okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to quarantine, and I'm going to have a look at things to see if I might not be shorting wires somewhere.
Okay.
And you can take over here with the cats, because I'm sure that they're going to be getting up any minute now.
Cool, Mark. Well, thanks for making sure they didn't go anywhere, and good luck with your.
Held them down for you.
Yes, and good luck with your overheating over there. Cool. Cheers, Brian. Well, the line are just lying to our left. There is one other vehicle here, and they are all dotted out behind this broken down marula tree. Sadly, they are not looking very lively, and that half an hour window of action and excitement I was hoping for may not go as well as planned. Anyway, what I will do in the meantime is just reposition the vehicle, get us into a good spot for if and when they do start to wake up, and it would be worth learning how to do screenshots on your computers or devices, whatever they are that you're watching on, because these lions are going to start to yawn. I can almost guarantee it, and when they're yawning and we're so close to them, it's going to make for some beautiful screenshots. And on cue, one of the youngsters has just got up, and it's probably going to go over to greet its mother. I don't want to go too close and disturb them, so this should do. This is a well-mannered little cub that's moved a few meters away from the rest of the pride before it went to the toilet. Sometimes they can do it right on top of their family members. Now, in terms of trying to understand lion and behavior, and even specifically this pride of lion, yesterday they were more full-bellied than they are today. They'd more recently fed on and finished off a hippo carcass, yet they were on the move at about 4 p.m. on a hot afternoon, no different to today. They then lay around in the sun for a while after having a drink at Gowrie Dam. But now the very next day, the same lion haven't moved a muscle, and it's already 5:30 and cooling down, so you can only read into so much of what you know about these animals when it comes to trying to predict their movements. Well, there's our first yawn of the evening, and there's going to be many more, and I'm sure we'll get some better angles too. But again, just like when we were stuck at Buffalo's Hook Dam earlier, patience is your friend out here, and sit back, get comfy, and enjoy this calm before what could potentially be a storm of activity when they get up. At this rate, I'm not too sure what time to guess, but I'm going to open it to you, the viewers. There's half an hour left. So basically, you can tell us how many minutes before the broadcast ends will these lions get up. I'm going with 10 minutes before the end of close. These lions are going to start moving. And by start moving, I mean not just waking up, be on the move. So it's a bit ambitious, but that's what I'm going for. 10 minutes, the lions, in 20 minutes time, the lions will be moving. Different thoughts or guesses, send them through. It's just a fun little game we can play. And who knows, maybe all of our positive energy wooing the lions to wake up will have some kind of an effect on them. One another when it comes to mating time. So they will live together, defend one another against other male cheetah or other male lion, depending on interspecies competition. And what will happen then is that obviously a bigger coalition. Oh, that's what I heard. An elephant's not too happy over there. I'm not sure what could be causing it. I think there is a vehicle up there, so possibly just a little bit angry with having a vehicle around. Anyway, that's what that strange noise was. Now, the benefits of a coalition being big is that there will be more strength and more numbers to not only fight off other males, but also to feed themselves. Now, in this area of South Africa, we've got quite large coalitions of males, sometimes 5 or 6 male lions teaming up together, and that is a force to be reckoned with. And Kathy from Memphis has actually just asked a question about coalitions, and specifically the Birmingham Boys, which is an up-and-coming coalition of 5 males. Kathy was interested to know, are they a splinter of a larger coalition, or are they their own coalition? And they are in fact their own coalition. You seldom get more than 5 or 6 males. I think I've seen a photograph of 7 together. You wouldn't want to bump into those if you're a lone male lion trying to defend your pride. But in the Sabi Sands we do get quite big coalitions. The Birmingham Boys are no different. They are up and coming though, and not quite there yet. Sadly, they haven't spent too much time here. Over December last year we got some great viewing from them. They killed 3 buffalo in 3 days. I mean, incredible. But since then they've been spending a lot of time further north in the Manyeleti. There's probably the largest population of buffalo in the Kruger National Park within the Manyeleti. There's big open grasslands that can fuel the buffalo. There's plenty of food for them, and naturally the lions go where the buffalo are plenty. And the Birmingham Boys are specialist buffalo hunters, 5 young lads, all strong, all a bit gutsy. They do a good job taking down buffalo. So we haven't seen them since maybe in early January we could have seen them, but I can't actually remember. It's been a long time. So we've got 15 minutes for them to get moving, if my guess is going to be correct. It's not looking very promising at the moment. Well, we've got some of your guesstimates through as to when you guys think the lions are going to be active, and the most optimistic of you is Christy, who said with 22 minutes left of the show to go, so you've got about 3 minutes left for them to get going. And then Lisa, funnily enough, said I should just jump out the vehicle and that would wake them up. And Lisa, you're right. However, I'm not convinced. The good news is all of you think that they will get up before the show closes, and I can't remember whose name it was, but there is one person that says 2 minutes before the show finishes, the lions are going to get up. And that was Teresa, so I'm glad we're all optimistic and that they're hoping that they are going to get up before the show closes. If not, we're just going to have to track them down for you in the morning. Oh, there's the young male, and Lisa's just asked a question about him. You can just see a little tuft of his mane on his neck there, but it's not very easy to see with all the bushes. He's about 3 years old now, and Lisa would like to know if he can hunt. And yes, he can, and he will, and he does contribute greatly, I'm sure, to this pride when they are hunting. I've never actually seen them take down anything, but he will bring size and also a bit of courage when taking on large prey like buffalo, which they do hunt and have hunted successfully in the past. On his own though, it would be a very different story. I'm sure he would have the ability to catch prey, but he would really battle, and it is one of the biggest killers of young males that are ousted from their pride by their father, that they simply cannot get enough food. They manage to fly below the radar, avoid dominant males, keep out of trouble, but acquiring food can be their most difficult job. And from time to time I've seen male lions feeding entirely on tortoises, which is not ideal cuisine for a lion, and they're not getting much nutrients from each tortoise, even if they manage to crush through their shell, which they can most of the time. So yes, he can hunt, but I guess he's still got a lot of training to do, and what would help him is if he had a few brothers to head off with on his journey to try and establish his own territory. But he doesn't have that privilege, sadly. You may notice a few very small moths flittering about above the lions. There are also a few flies, but those still landed on the lion. You can see 2 on the lion's shoulder there, little black blobs. But there are a few small moths. This time of the year is great because there aren't too many insects around. In summer, when you shine a spotlight, you get inundated with bugs and insects of all shapes and sizes, and driving around at night can also be a bit of a lottery in the summer, because you get some fairly large beetles flying about, and if and when they fly into you, it can be painful, and the last thing you want is one of them to crash into your eye. I actually know 2 people that have had to have eye operations from insect attacks, and they weren't really attacks, it was simply head-on collisions between people travelling in open vehicles and insects using the same highways. So something to bear in mind if you do come out on safari. Bring some clear goggles if you're coming in summer for the night drives. Most lodges do provide you with them. And all of us here at Wild Earth have got our safety goggles for the trips back and from Manyeleti when we are staying over there. Good evening, Shanae, and welcome back to yet another one of our safaris. Shanae is one of our long-standing viewers, and how incredible that we get to know people all around the world. Shanae is from New Zealand, and Shanae would like to know what causes coalitions of male lions to split up. We could take the Birmingham boys, for example. There's 5 of them currently. They could stay together, establish a very, very large territory, because there are 5 of them. And then because their territory becomes so big, they would almost decide to, and it would make sense to, split up into 2 groups of 2. That way they can divide and conquer. 2 can monitor the south of a territory, 2 can monitor the north, or 3 can monitor the north of a territory. They can take turns, move around, but that way have a more effective system to patrol their territory, keeping other males at bay and making sure there's no females to mate with. So that could be a contributing factor. A coalition gets an abnormally large territory, they therefore need to split up in order to patrol it effectively. Another reason could be that if you are the weakest out of the 5 brothers, your chances of mating become very, very slim if all 5 of you together. Whereas if you split up into groups, your odds become much greater. Now, like I said earlier, but I'll reiterate, male lions will join together as friends, as a unit, to fight for their territory. But when it comes to ladies, they all fight amongst one another. So, just like at a kill, they'll still compete ferociously with one another for feeding rights and to get access to the best part of a kill. And all these little factors may cause lions who want to split up and get away from other members of their coalition to increase their chances of feeding at kills and mating when the opportunity arises. Other than that, I can't think of anything, Shanae. I could be missing out on a few other theories and options, but those are the 2 main factors that I think of. Okay, well, sadly, Christy, you were wrong about your timing, and it looks like I'm going to be wrong as well. I think we could all be wrong this evening, sadly, but no, I must stop being negative. And I'm just trying to think of if I could reposition to give you a better angle, but wherever I look around I've failed to see a better spot. Vim, I don't know, is there anywhere you think we could go? No, we're pretty stuck here. So, beautiful pink sky in the background though, and we've got these lines dotted out all around us here. It's a magical evening, but they are fairly lifeless at the moment. Now, some of you, and I'm sure a lot of you, may be wondering how far away do I think the elephant that was trumpeting is, and I'm guessing about half a mile to 3/4 of a mile. At this stage of the year, there's not much foliage to absorb the audio as it's let out from the elephants, so sound travels better in winter when there's less leaves. It's also a very still evening. It is dead still. There is not a breath of wind, and we're on a bit of a crest, so sound will travel quite far. So those factors lead me to think that it's a fair distance off. They can also make a very, very loud noise, these elephants. So, not very, very close, but then again, not very far. Half a mile, 3/4 of a mile is the guess distance, I guess. Somewhere between us and Djuma Dam. Who knows, maybe they're down at the waterhole, and if you'd like to, at any stage of any day, you can check out our live waterhole camera. It runs 24 hours a day, and there are people that control the camera. They're called zoomies, and they do such a great job in finding interesting animals and sightings at all obscure hours of the day and night, and I'll take this opportunity to again thank the Zoomies, and also to thank the viewers who watch the live cam, because your updates and your information and your intelligence that you share with us really does help us. There's nothing better than waking up to go out on a morning safari and getting an update through from Final Control that some of the viewers have seen leopard at the waterhole, or lion, or elephants, or anything of interest. Once you guys found that snake that was being attacked by the weavers for us. So the Djuma waterhole camera is there, and if you haven't tried it or had a look at it, it's certainly worth looking into. And we've just got an update now from the Djuma waterhole cam, and there's no elephants there, so maybe they are between where we are and the dam. Whether they're coming here or to the dam, only time will tell. Come on, lion, there's lots of people that would love to see you at least yawn once or show some affection to one another, anything really. Now, Jean in North Carolina, good evening, and Jean is wondering to know, how far are these lion away from the Djuma Dam? And I'd probably say they're about a mile, so I pinned those elephants at about midway between half a mile to 3/4 of a mile, and we're about a mile away from the dam, so they haven't moved far at all. And it's certainly not far in terms of distances that lions can cover. The interesting thing about it, Gene, is that they didn't really move any distance the whole of last night. We found them at Djuma Dam in the evening and in the same place in the morning. Oh, that's a good sign. It's just a stretch, but it's a sign of life. And just like us humans, we also stretch and roll over and toss and turn before we roll out of bed in the morning. And it looks like they're having one of those days. All of them have hit the snooze button, and no one's interested in doing anything just yet.
Lee, come in, Juliana.
Space for one more.
Yeah, definitely, Lee. Sorry, you snuck up on me.
Thanks, man.
They all flat out, so I don't know where the best option is, but either side. Sorry folks, there's another vehicle that very stealthily freewheeled down to us and just asked me, not over the radio, which I'd actually just turned off, whether he could join, and he certainly can. It's just us here. Now you would have heard those elephants alarm call trumpeting again, and I'm not sure if they're coming any closer. I don't know what it could be that's disturbing them. A number of different opportunities or factors that could cause that. One would be that there's some youngsters playing around, a bit of adolescent bullying. That's a reality. Another thing that could have happened is that there could be a big bull in must that's giving a female that's coming into season, or possibly a female that's not coming into season. But early bulls in must can cause a lot of panic and trouble and chaos for herds. So that's a second possibility. The third could be that they've bumped into a predator, hyena, lion, leopard that they don't like, and that can distress them. So, hard to say, and I'm almost tempted to go over there and have a look, but at the same time you can see these lions are beginning to roll over, and I think we may just get lucky. And Teresa, who said that the lions are going to wake up 2 minutes before the show ends, I think is looking like it's going to be the closest guess. So well done to Teresa at this stage. Kirsty and Scott are way out.
Update on that before, but
well, we've just got a question through from Tina in Houston, and Tina's interested to know, is there a reason why there's only one male of 3 years of age in this pride? And why aren't there more brothers? Is it just coincidence? And it is. Just like humans, there's no difference between lions and us. There's a 50-50% chance of having a male cub or a female cub, and different prides will vary and go through different stages, sometimes having lots of males, other times having lots of females. I've noticed there's been no set characteristics or traits amongst any of the lions I've seen, and it's just a natural ebb and flow that varies from year to year. It does have long-lasting effects on how a pride's dynamic evolves, because the lioness will stay in the pride and continue to make the pride grow, whereas men will leave the pride. Now, I've seen prides of lion up to 28 animals fluctuate down to 12, because they did have at one stage 9 young males that all left simultaneously. And with a few of the lioness dying, older lioness dying, a few pride fragmentations where some pride members split off, a huge pride of lion then almost halves in size in a very short period of time. But that does make sense for the environment, for the ecosystem. You cannot continually have prides of 40 lion walking around everywhere. But occasionally, when you get lucky, you do get these mega prides, and then you can see some really interesting social dynamics between the individuals, and also some very, very interesting hunting. Large prides of lion need lots of meat to feed on, and in certain areas they can even take down, or they've even actually specialized in taking down elephants. Hard to believe, but true. Cecilia, good evening, and thanks for sending your question through. Cecilia would like to know if there's any confirmation that any one of the lioness in this pride may be pregnant. Now, there's not official confirmation. A viewer did say yesterday that at least one of these lioness was mating with one of the Matimba Coalition members in the end of February this year, which is possible. I don't remember that. Maybe I wasn't here or didn't hear about it. But that's not to say it didn't happen. And if it did happen, that would mean that she should be giving birth at any stage. It's about a 3-month gestation period. So March, April, May, June, there should be babies. End of May, beginning of June. So it certainly doesn't appear that way to me, but it can be very difficult, even amongst guides and experienced guides, to be 100% certain if either lion or leopard are pregnant. And I certainly don't consider myself a pregnancy expert when it comes to the big cats. Wow, look at that pink sky. Beautiful. And That's in all likelihood Venus, the goddess of beauty, up on our western horizon. A planet, not a star. Okay, folks, well, I'm sorry, I tried to be clear about the little game we were playing as to guess when the lion will wake up, and I tried to mention it and maybe I wasn't clear enough, but basically when I said move, I didn't mean roll over, I meant get up and start moving. So yawning and saying hello kind of would have counted or passed had that have happened, but it hasn't happened. And ideally, yeah, just to clear it up for next time, it means to move, and by move I mean get on the move out the area, go for a walk, start hunting. And none of us are right this evening, but I guess Teresa was the closest, and she was hoping that they'd get up 2 minutes before the end of the show. But I think we're all going to be wrong tonight, and that's fine. You can't use up all your luck in one day, so we can bank that guess to get it right next time. Oh, how much time is there left? I'm losing track with the beautiful sunset and the lions. Okay, just about a couple of minutes left. We certainly aren't going to go anywhere though. We will stay with these lions until the last second. Imagine a rutting male impala came running through here. That would certainly get them up in a second. But I don't think the luck is on our side with these lions tonight. It's going to be very, very interesting to see where they move from here. Again, the fact that they didn't move far last night, even though they weren't full-bellied, really intrigues me. And I think it's got something to do with the fact that there are rumors of another male or another coalition of males working through this area, and maybe wanting to avoid that. They know that with new males comes bloodshed and chaos. So we'll have to wait and see. If you can, tune into the AM Safari, and that way you'll get to see exactly where they've gone. Maybe we won't find them, but we'll be able to follow their footprints and know where they've gone. And I'm already looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to some leopard coming back onto the property. Maybe they've been here, but they've been hiding from us. Anyway, hopefully we'll have some luck with the leopard. Mark's an absolute wizard with elephants, so I'm sure he's got some plans. Anyway, he sadly didn't fix his vehicle, but hopefully we'll be out again with us in the morning. And thanks to VM, Nikki and Tara, we'll see you all tomorrow.